Welcome to the first of the uh, chats with various students from the Building Community One Idea at a Time class offered as part of the Future Work program from the Institute of Indigenous Learning. Today our guest is the amazing Shelby Anderson, and she will recant some stories from her relatives and tell some interesting things that she's seen and heard. Thanks for joining us, Shelby.
So glad to be here. Well, to start off, I wanted to talk about my dad's experience with what is colloquially known as Sasquatch. So I guess I'll just start at the beginning. I had gotten a job in Calgary, so like the night before. So I had to get ready, get everything set up, get a place to stay. So we left pretty late into the night. And he dropped me off. He was driving back, and it was obviously very late at night. And while he was driving on the highway, he kept hearing horses. And obviously, this is weird to hear a bunch of horses on the highway. So he wanted to check what was going on in case it was a bear. And obviously, he's in a vehicle. He could honk the horn, scare the bear away. But as he pulled into the driveway where he saw the horses were basically freaking out, he didn't know what was going on. And as he was driving in to basically this long forested corridor, he saw what he described as this very, very large creature, and like that had dark, thick fur. And he could just tell that the creature was staring at him. And he said it felt like he was staring right into my eyes. So my dad got very scared, and he drove away. And he went home. He told my mom. So my mom said, we'll come and we'll investigate. So they went back the next day, and they found that there was a bunch of ATVs just driving around that area, and that area was actually closed off afterwards. So my dad doesn't know exactly what that situation was, but now whenever we pass that road, the road has a big sign saying, you can't come in here. Basically, it's blocked off now by a huge gate. Yeah, that's the first part of that story.
Did your dad say what the eyes look like?
He just talked about this real intensity he felt in the moment. And he was very scared. I think anyone would be scared to see a large creature that obviously they've never seen before. But he just spoke about the intensity of feeling watched. And he actually thinks now that maybe this Sasquatch was trying to tell my dad something, or, you know, trying to get to my dad. He comes at it more in a fear, scary based way. But I kind of wonder if there's a duality to Sasquatch and that whole thing.
Your dad ever describe the intensity he felt? Like, did it feel like a heaviness, or?
I think it was in that way, a heaviness for sure. Just a fear of getting out there. So I don't know if maybe this creature was trying to tell my dad to get out of there because there was something else there. Maybe my dad saw something he wasn't supposed to at the time. I kind of wonder that. But this actually leads into the next part. Just like a few days ago, like 2 days ago, we were driving home. We were in the town, so my mom could see her doctor. But as we were driving home late at night, we pulled over on the highway. And I kind of felt weird. For one, I didn't know really what was going on. And so we stopped on the side of the road. My dad came to, we were in two separate vehicles. My dad came to ours, the one my mom was driving, and came and grabbed some stuff, grabbed some food. And we were just talking, and all of a sudden I hear this deep scream coming from the forest. And I freak out. Like my heart just sinks to the bottom of my chest. And I'm like, what's going on? And I freak out. I make my sister shut the door. I tell my mom we have to leave right now. And then I like honk the horn, tell my dad he has to get back into the truck, and we drive away. And I'm like, you guys heard that, right? And my mom was like, no. And my sister also, she didn't hear anything. My little brother didn't hear anything. So now I'm kind of wondering if, Sasquatch is trying to find my dad again in that situation. Because I didn't hear anything, and it sounded so close, like it was in the tree line. That's how loud that scream or yell was to me. So you never know. Maybe Sasquatch is trying to protect my dad, or maybe he's trying to get my dad. I don't really know.
It's very interesting. I'm wondering, Shelby, could you describe for our viewers just what that scream sounded like to you?
Oh man, if I could describe, basically someone with a very deep voice and some agony. That's what it sounded like. I was terrified. And I never really heard anything like that before. I guess it could be a wild animal, but I grew up in the bush, so I kind of know what everything sounds like, and that just didn't sound like something I've heard before.
What kind of feeling did you have when you heard it? Was it that same feeling of intensity?
I guess I just immediately after I heard it, I knew just to get out of there, and I was just so scared. And I don't get scared like that. Like I'm a big fan of horror movies. Like I always like to scare myself, and just in that moment, that was just pure terror and pure survival instinct of I have to get out of here immediately. So yeah, I don't know. It must have been something dangerous. It would have had to been to give me that kind of feeling.
Do you think it was trying to kind of warn you to avoid other terror, or do you think it was the terror?
That's a big question for me. I know there's duality in everything. There's duality in nature. There's duality in humans. And obviously we're part of nature. So I don't know if this creature is trying to protect my dad or protect my family or trying to tell something that, or if this creature wants to take my dad or harm my dad. I really don't know.
What was your dad's perspective? Does he feel it was trying to harm him or protect him, or?
My dad kind of goes more that route, just the fear of like why would it stare at someone for so long and not do anything? That's kind of what I wonder. Like, was it sussing my dad out? Was it trying to inspect my dad? That's the thing I really wonder, because my dad didn't drive away almost immediately. He was in shock and obviously scared. And my dad knew what it was. Like, he grew up with these stories, and he knew immediately kind of what other people have said about them. And this is a common thing happening in my area, actually, and specifically that area where we were. There's videos taken there that people say they saw something, and there's also a first-hand account of someone in that area who basically says that Sasquatch was throwing rocks at him. So I kind of wonder what this creature is. Part of my research of doing this whole thing, a lot of people say he's our big brother, he's our messenger. He tells us things that are going to happen. So I wonder, is he coming at this point in time in history to try to warn my family about this area? That's also a perspective I've wondered about, that specific area that we were living in before. There's a lot of change politically and stuff like that. So I wonder if this creature knows that we're in danger in some way in those respects, or is it just the monster? Is it just the monster under the bed just trying to get us? Yeah.
You mentioned that some of your research had talked about kind of being a big brother protector. What else have you researched and learned?
It's kind of hard because I feel like a lot of people come to Sasquatch and their understanding of Sasquatch in a very fear-based environment, and I completely understand that, because what if it is this creature that's not part of what we are? I've actually read some papers where like it's an interdimensional being, and that's something I also wonder about. how it gets places to places and how it's never found. But I don't know, I think it's something that's very real, and there's so many people talking about it and saying that he gave these messages to them. So is that their dual nature of he can give messages and be that big brother, or is he something else?
And I think it's all a matter of perspective, right? Sometimes messengers can be, you might feel they're both good and bad, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And if he's the messenger, and if he comes off scary and terrifying, I think that can come from a place of also being scared and terrified yourself. So what does this creature know that scares it so much that it scares other people? I think that could be an interesting thing to go into.
Have you any thoughts of what it could be scared of or thinking about?
I think nature can feel, and I think this creature is obviously a big part of nature and connected with nature. And I think it can really feel basically the damage that is being done to it by us. And that's what I kind of wonder. Is it trying to stop us, or is it trying to warn us of what we're doing to our planet, to what we live in, what we used to be so connected to? And now it sees that disconnect, and now we're disconnected from this messenger, this big brother that it used to be, that we're so disconnected that now we're afraid. That's what I really wonder.
You mentioned yourself, you had a connection to kind of nature in the past. Do you feel others should probably learn from that perspective, or?
I think for sure. I think there was a time where we were so connected that we could really feel things and understand, and now there's this disconnect. And I think these creatures might kind of represent that disconnect. There's always those stories of like man versus nature, this being, right, fighting against the elements, going against these things. And it's like, maybe it's time we switch our perspective and try to work with nature before it's too late. And I know it kind of already feels like it's too late, but I think there's no harm in trying to get back to our roots, to get back to the earth's roots.
I know as part of the group you've been a part of the last couple of weeks, you've been kind of talking about community and connecting. Have you gained any perspective from that may go into that?
Well, for me, when I was younger, I guess I was kind of I always felt like the outsider. I had lost my grandparents very young, so I'd lost that connection with my community, and even to these stories, even to like being able to go and ask someone immediately about what Sasquatch was. I was disconnected from that from a very young age. And for me, it kind of created this thing of I wanted to leave, that I wanted to go away. And actually, at this point where my dad saw Sasquatch, that's exactly what I was thinking. Is this the point in my life where I leave my community, go out, and then kind of that's it? That's where my life goes. That's my life path. And then just hearing that story and being around my dad, it just reminded me how important community was to all of us, right? And this program is also greatly instilling that in me, and that we really need to be with our community right now, and we need to have open dialogue with each other, and we need to start understanding things. I think so many things are in pieces in some ways, and I think it's really time to just start weaving them together and to build this strong foundation, because we don't really know where the planet's going to go in even the next 7 years.
What were some things that you took away as to add to your own strong foundation?
Well, for my strong foundation, I don't know, it was just always changing my perspective. And that's the big thing for me right now, is just we see these things and we understand them one way, And that's completely fair, but I think we have to push ourselves to see things in a different way, to accept things in a different way. And there's been so much disconnection, so much strife and anger. And especially for me, I'm talking from a personal perspective of just that anger that has disconnected me from my community, and just being able to let that go and really, weave those pieces that feel like they're broken, but obviously they can be put back together within myself.
You mentioned the timing of when your father saw the Sasquatch. That it was kind of a time when you yourself were kind of searching and debating about moving away or staying connected, or it was kind of almost called you back to that. Do you feel this class may have also been helpful in kind of calling you into that, or calling others back to it?
Yeah, for sure. And that's actually why I pursued this class. I really want to just build my own community and get connected, because it's going to be so important, I think, personally, in the next coming years. But yeah, this class has just shifted my perspective. I keep saying that over and over, but that's 100% what I needed. And, just I feel like one of my big life lessons is the nature of duality and what that is. And I feel like I'm constantly learning it every single day, this new lesson of what duality is and how to accept it within myself and accept it within other people. And yeah, that's kind of where this class has led me to, just a different understanding. And I feel like it really expanded my mind view. I say this all the time. It really blew my mind.
Was there any other teachings that kind of stood out to you that blew your mind?
Man, just, oh man, everything. I think one of the big things for me was, oh, sorry, I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to get emotional. It was just the blood memory, and how when we're healing ourselves and really working towards that reconnection, we're healing these pains, these issues that really affected our grandparents. And for me, that's a big thing. Like, I would give anything for my grandma to be here again. But through this and learning about the duality, it's even taught me lessons about the duality of life and death. And, there's always another side. At least for me, in my perspective, there's always another side. And yeah, I don't know if I really answered your question.
No, I think you did. When you speak of dualities, is there any other things that stood out to you that you'd want to share with some of the viewers?
Man, duality. There's just always another perspective. I think we come at things with such, I think it's natural to come at things with such fear and hesitation, but I wonder if we started coming at things with, a real healthy curiosity. I wonder if things would be different. Like, I wonder if this whole thing with Sasquatch would be different if I was there, what I could have seen. But I don't really know. Yeah. What do
Any,
you think? What do you think Sasquatch is? Give me your perspective.
I think, I think Sasquatch is like many of the other, like, there's lots of creatures that are out there that people say we may have not seen or not understand completely. I think it comes from their perspectives, right? And if you're coming from a perspective that, you know, nature is here to hurt us and harm us versus it's here to, be with us and kind of share the space together. I think your perspective or your duality, I guess, kind of will slant some of those that thing and makes assumption of like Sasquatch being, a creature that to be feared or to be pursued, right? Like, so. I don't know. I think I know I haven't encountered one yet to my knowledge, but who knows?
Who knows? Very true. I think someone is asking the question, would I have tried to approach or communicate? In that moment, I don't know. Hearing that scream a few nights ago, I don't, like, obviously I didn't want to approach or communicate with that, but that could also be a warning and not something to be feared. But if I was there that night, I don't know. I would have to trust the animals that were there, and there was a lot of horses that were obviously very scared, very terrified, my dad said. And maybe I'd have to trust that. But I don't know. I'm also a curious cat, and would I have gotten out of the vehicle? I might have. So I guess that's the duality of the situation. I wish I could go back in time and be there.
So Shelby, do you have any closing thoughts for our viewers?
Closing thoughts. Just try to see the different perspective. Try to see the other side. It's really difficult. It's something I struggled with for a long time, to try to think of things differently. I can often get tunnel vision and be like, this is this for these reasons, but there's always another side. That's the thing I would always say. There's always another side.
Thank you for sharing your kind of perspective and your thoughts, and participating in this conversation of how we build community, as we said, one idea at a time.
Glad to be here.